they're all faith states, and you know, shifting from one to another, I suppose, is always going to have some commonalities.
Just kind of a very general association I have as you unfolded that was, if you consider sort of prominent motivations for religion very globally, like seeking, like attachment motivation, seeking an ideal attachment figure, social influence from others, and you know, having rich attachments to religion, it strikes me that a priority that emerges amongst the people you've described is just sort of trying to make sense of the world. A search for meaning having a higher priority than the more social influence, attachment-based kinds of experience. Not that they're not both
which
there.
remains very important to them. But this, as you're saying,
yes,
this search, this
but
quest
priority,
takes priority. Yeah.
Yes, Andrew, and then.
Well, I guess I'll let him.
Go ahead. I guess Andrew, I think.
Yes, just to follow that up, in a sense, these seem to be a particular group of people who have come through to a point. Presumably, there must be a lot of people in the sort of netherworld who have cast off but not arrived. And I wondered actually whether, in a sense, there's something about these people,
of course,
that makes them arrive as opposed to just stay, and whether there's a common theme in that.
And I don't think there's any website for the non-arrivals. They're off there somewhere adrift, and it'd be very nice to access them. Well, I'll just, sort of in advance of my presentation this afternoon, with the Faith Q sort, I have come up with so far 7 prototypes. And among the prototypes is one I call reluctantly skeptical. So this is a person who has cast off and sort of longingly looking back at the dock, but knowing there's no possibility of returning there and having no idea where he's going.
The Ship of Fools. might have a number of these people.
Next question here.
A very short question. Is agnosticism necessary to convert to atheism?
I'm sorry?
Agnosticism.
Oh,
yeah, agnosticism.
To compare the two.
Yeah, so does agnosticism prepare to be for being atheism?
So is agnosticism like a way station onto atheism? Well, I think it is. Given that this is a sort of an atheism site, I mean, and the site is dedicated to these narratives, that's what it's about. So this is a site that's going to welcome the discourse of atheism. But you'll find many people will claim to be agnostic rather than atheist, partly to be polite, because it seems less aggressive, and because atheism has so many negative connotations. You know, even if you are an atheist, you can still feel those connotations. You know, I don't want to take on those connotations. You'll have people who say they don't believe in God, but they will not say they're atheist. You know, on the same questionnaire. But there are also people who are studiously agnostic, who say, well, we simply cannot know. It is not possible to know. So atheism is an assertion that we know. We know there is no God. And so, you know, I guess it was Thomas Huxley who invented the term. And that could be a formal position that does not lead to the declaration of atheism. I mean, that's kind of almost a political position when you declare yourself atheist. You know, it's a negative term. It's saying I'm a non-theist, which is a term I prefer to atheism because it doesn't have those vibrations.
We'll take one last question. Jacob?
Just a question for information. I would assume that those narratives that you have found are almost all from a US context.
Yes.
So, but do you know anything about so-called atheism in other than US context? I mean, does it exist in the same way in India, for instance? I'm pretty sure that even in Europe it wouldn't exist in this way. In Europe, atheism is not a bad thing and not a bad
Of course, yes, of course. No, this is very much centered in the United States. This is a phenomenon here, and the context makes all the difference. Both in terms of the language of discourse, which includes not just the discourse about becoming atheist, but the discourse about religion and what religion is about, and religion being about belief and belief in God, and and all of that. But then also context.
So probably you wouldn't expect in a Hindu culture or context to have atheism in this sense. Okay.
I'll have to scour the internet to see if there's a Hindu site. But, you know, the presence of this site is itself testimony to what's happening here. I mean, if being an atheist here was like no big deal, being another, somebody said in Finland, well, you know, being religious is being the outlier.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they would have their website. But you wouldn't need a website like this if being an atheist is no big deal.
Well, and I mean, internationally, cross-comparatively, it's really more of a statement of kind of social stigmata as
Yes.
opposed to atheism proper.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm quite certain that all of these findings would be relevant under a different cultural term in a different culture, but they would still be very present nonetheless.
Well, it'd be interesting to follow up on that.
All right, well, thank you very much. I'll sneak past here. One thing we'll mention is that the talks for both this session and the next one, we are videotaping those and they will be available online within the next few weeks. So if you'd like to know where that address is, if you just send an email to me, Kevin Ladd, we'll make sure that you have access to those if you want to go back and revisit them for whatever reason.